So, hello, Rebecca. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Rebecca Jones. I'm known as the Red Shoe Bizwoman, and I go into organisations to help their staff be more enterprising in order to develop the organisation and make it more successful.
And how does that work in a day-to-day basis? What sort of things are you doing with them?
So what we're asking the staff to do is just be more aware of how business works and functions, things that they can be looking out for around customers, development of the organisation, development of products and services, and possibly moving into even new areas as well.
And what happens when they do all of that really well? What's the outcome?
Well, when they do it all really, really well, what we're aiming for is the fact that we've got a constantly developing organisation, because as we know, everything's changing all the time. Customers are requiring different things, and it's about keeping an organisation moving forward rather than going through spurts of growth, stopping, then realising you're falling behind and having to boost it and move forward again.
So, about balancing time, effort, energy, money, all of those things, all take part of it.
Yes, and also just about them having a better understanding of the way the business wants to move forward. So understanding both its values and the reasons why it was there originally, what it's trying to achieve, and also where it's aiming for, so where is it moving towards. And the more your staff are understanding of what you're trying to achieve, the easier it is for them to see opportunities that would benefit you in moving forward. Otherwise, obviously they're going to come up with ideas that are fantastic and lovely, but maybe don't help move you forward in the right way.
Yeah. So tell me a bit about how you got into that in the first place. Where did it come from?
I started my first business at 19, and whilst that wasn't the most brilliant success, it did teach me about the concept of being enterprising and coming up with an idea and developing it and growing it. And I guess I got hooked on the concept of being self-employed. So went back to college, did some further education and learning, and became a trainer of adults. Started my second business, and that business was sort of, as it grew, I realised I needed to develop the staff within that organisation to help me as the business owner to make it more successful. So that started the whole concept of enterprise, being enterprising. Is it just about the leader being enterprising, or can we have everybody being enterprising? And so the research I did on being entrepreneurial has helped sort of cement the background I have in training and education and development, business development and enterprise, and it all comes together into the concept of having more enterprise within organisations.
So, and you don't just work with organisations, you also speak about this. Tell me a bit about that too.
So as a speaker, I go to conferences, organisations, away days, events, all sorts of things really, sort of all over the place, where they have gatherings of people, be it small numbers of, anything from 20 to 60, all the way up to hundreds and hundreds of people who want to sort of have an understanding of being more entrepreneurial. Can they be more entrepreneurial? What does it take to be more entrepreneurial? Is it something that they can do and change? And we can, through exercises and activities, help them understand more about being enterprising.
That sounds great. Presumably after one of those talks, you're giving people the tools to go back and start the journey that you're talking about. Is that the main aim?
They get the tools, but also for me it's very much about building confidence in being enterprising. A lot of people have the perception that you're either born an entrepreneur or you're not. And of course we know now that that's not the case. That to be enterprising is about having a set of traits and skills, and those vary from person to person, business to business. And those are skills that we can learn and grow and develop. So I help them understand that they do have that ability and that they have already got the skills they need and how they can utilise those. And so a lot of that is mindset shift.
Mindset shift, interesting. But let's just explore this enterprise thing a little bit more. I mean, it doesn't really matter for most people, does it?
Well, I think the thing is with staff within organisations is that if they're not involved in the development of the organisation, they start to feel more and more detached from what's happening. And so it happens that they are just members of staff doing the stuff, if you like, and they're being told what to do and how to do it. And what happens then is they become disconnected from the organisation. It is just a job for them. So when organisations are saying they want their staff to be more engaged, more connected, Actually, one of the ways of doing that is to help them become more involved in the development of the organisation, so they feel part of it moving forward. And in order to do that, they just need to understand how the business works, and that's what being enterprising is.
Fantastic. And I would imagine organisations that have employees that are just doing a job and organisations that have employees that are enterprising, performance is completely different.
Yeah, performance improves. Their understanding of why they're having to do something, what it means, what the outcomes are, improves. And also what we see is the staff retention rates improve as well. So people don't sort of leave because they don't feel their skills are being valued and utilised. They know that it's possible for them to move throughout the organisation and use those skills in different ways. So you don't get staff moving on because of frustrations. Obviously some people will move on, and that's a good thing. We don't want people to always stay in the same place, but retention improves, and also recruitment improves because you become known as an organisation that allows staff to be involved in the way it's run.
Yeah, well, that makes sense too. So is that something they learn? Do they learn it from you? Do they learn it from working on the job with the tools that you provide? How does that work? How do they get this? What do they have to do?
So initially we awaken the idea, if you like, through a talk at usually the staff conference or an away day, etc., where we're sort of getting them to have the understanding that it's possible for them to be enterprising. And that doesn't mean that they're going to be taking big risks or gambles. It's about just being more aware of opportunities. And then we can give them sort of the tools in order to start utilising that in the workplace. So there's a combination approach between the staff having the understanding of what they're trying to achieve and know how they can present that information to managers for it to be considered, because sometimes ideas are put forward that aren't suitable for whatever reason. As long as people get the feedback and understand why it's not suitable, then that's okay. And then obviously we need the managers to know how to manage and support and encourage people to be more enterprising, and how to utilise that more entrepreneurial spirit within the organisation in a positive way.
You mentioned earlier that some people question whether this is something they're born with or something they can be taught. Tell me a bit more about that. What's your view on it?
Well, my view is that you can be taught to be enterprising. I think you need to have a desire to want to be enterprising, maybe, but that desire is usually born from the need to progress and develop and grow something. And if you look at the word entrepreneur, it comes from the French word entreprendre, which means to begin, to start, to develop. It doesn't mean to take huge risks and gambles and to, potentially put an organisation at risk. That's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is for people to take a concept or an idea and see how they can develop it and grow it for the benefit of both themselves as a member of staff and the team around them, for the clients and for the organisation. So we're looking at that three-pronged approach all the time. So we're making sure the staff are able to be utilising their skills and feel involved and connected, that the client is getting what they want, and that the organisation is growing and moving forward and developing at the same time.
Yeah, that makes really good sense. So, is that really just the leader's job?
Yeah, I mean, you can argue that it is for the leaders or for the senior executive team or the owner, in certain cases, to come up with the ideas to move the organisation forward. But then that becomes this sort of top-down approach. And it gets back to what we were saying right at the beginning of this idea that you're being told what to do and you don't feel involved and engaged. And the other thing is, of course, sometimes the staff members have more connection with the customers, more connection with maybe your competitors, or just see other opportunities that you don't see as the leader. So it's just making sure that we're not saying the leaders can't come up with ideas, we're just saying that maybe if we're all coming up with ideas, we'll come at it from a different perspective, and that might bring a more balanced approach.